Hello, my name's Caitlin Walker. I'm a practitioner of clean language, a process developed by David Grove. And over the last 15 years, I've taken his work and I've applied it to groups in all kinds of sectors. And I've developed my own process utilising his called systemic modelling. I've recently written a book about the last 15 years, and it includes using clean language with disaffected teenagers, helping them to re-engage in learning and in education and to get work, working in business. Clean language is particularly useful for developing metaphors and for taking conversational metaphors that people use to describe their business or themselves, and then to use them to really get a deep understanding of the people that you're interacting with. So we developed a process called Metaphors at Work to help organisations and teams to get a joint metaphor that they go, yep, our organisation, when it's at its best, it's like that, and I know how I fit into that. We've used it in diversity training. We've used it in the NHS, in creating teams that are able to talk to one another about their own diversity and then use that expertise to offer an even better service to their customers and clients. The book talks about developing a whole school change. So utilising different teachers, management, students, and using clean questions to understand how they learn really well, how they want to work together, and also how to create a strategy that they can all sign up to. The course that we're going to be offering is a 3-day introduction to clean language. So it's the fundamentals, the basics, how to ask the questions, what they're for, what a conversational or embodied metaphor is, how to develop them, and then how to make use of this. It's really aimed at people who are already practitioners in their own right, in their own fields, who'd like to be able to utilise a metaphor when it comes up, or who'd like to be able to get their clients to think in a slightly different way about what's going on for them, or who'd just like to really hone their listening skills. So a little example would be if a client comes to me and says, well, I know where I'm going, but there's stuff in the way. I'm an equal opportunities employer of their information. I listen to their words, I know where I'm going, but there's stuff in the way. And I think, okay, there's an I, there's a where they're going, there's a know, there's an I that knows where they're going, there's a way, and there's stuff that's in the way. So those are the ways that you start to track that information. And I watch them. So I understand that the way in relation to them is over there, and I watch that the stuff is here. And I've counted as well. There's 3 bits of stuff. So I know where I'm going, but there's stuff in the way. So I can ask clean questions. So I can ask, when know where you're going, what kind of know is that? These are attribute questions. Is there anything else about where you're going? And there's stuff in the way. What kind of stuff? Is there anything else about that stuff? So what kind of, is there anything else? Real core of the clean language questions. Well, I might ask about location. Even though I've seen it, I might say, when you know where you're going, whereabouts are you going? And I might check. Oh, well, I mean, my path's really well laid out. Okay, so your path's really well laid out. Or I might say, when there's stuff in your way, whereabouts is that stuff? And they might go back into the location of that stuff. So what kind of, is there anything else? Where? I might ask, when there's stuff in your way, where does that stuff come from? What happened just before there was stuff in your way? Or when you know where you're going, where does the knowing where you're going come from? Where does the know where you're going come from? So I might pull back the sequence. I might find out what's the source of their information. Or I could ask them, what's next? When you know where you're going, there's stuff in the way, then what happens? When you know where you're going, what happens next? So it's a very simple set of tools that takes whatever's been presented, and the questions go adjacent to what they've said or adjacent to their gestures, and it expands and expands. So it's a bottom-up building of the client's experience that then helps them to get more information, to find out how these things relate to that thing, to source problems, to find out what they're there for, and also to move time forward and to find out what they'd like to have happen. But while it's very simple, it's also tricky because it's not doing interpretation. It's not making assumptions. It's not bringing in your own cleverness or what you think they should do. So what it's great for is for people who really want their clients to develop a self-reliance, who really want their clients to come up with their own solutions. It's great for body workers who want to use information that's in the body that's tacit. The client might feel it but not be able to express it yet. So good for body workers, it's good for hypnotherapists, it's great for anyone involved in doing, for example, appraisals or feedback, who really want to find out from the person that they're working with, it was like what for them, and then they get them to give their experience, and then to be able to very cleanly say, this is what I saw and heard, this is what I'm making up about it, and this is what I think the impact is. So it's a great tool for people who also want to facilitate clients, so who want to facilitate other practitioners in more of a supervisory way. The 3 days will start with the basic tools. They'll have some demos, some live demos in the moment, so please come along willing to bring your stuff and have some clean questions asked of you. And then there'll be a manual and a handout to make sure that you can easily take those tools and immediately start applying them in your practice. And then for those of you who actually would like to then go on and train and be certified in clean language and symbolic modelling, there's an opportunity to do further training later on.